You think you're free? I watched The Secret Codes of Human Society. Welcome, truth seekers. Let me start by asking you something simple yet profound. Do you really feel free? Free to make your own choices, think your own thoughts, and believe in what feels true to you? Or is it possible that, unbeknownst to you, every moment of your life is being subtly orchestrated? Not by chance, not by fate, but by systems and forces designed to control you. Today, we're unveiling the secret codes of human society. By the end of this video, you won't just see the world differently, you may never trust it the same way again. Are you ready to uncover the truth? Let's start with the biggest lie we've all been fed, the lie of freedom. We're told from a young age that we're the authors of our own lives, the captains of our own ships. Follow your dreams, they say. But what if those dreams aren't really yours? What if the ideas you embrace, the values you uphold, and even the goals you pursue have been planted in your mind by invisible forces? We live in what feels like a democratic free world, but in reality, most of us are prisoners of a carefully constructed system. This belief in freedom keeps most people from questioning their reality. It's comfortable, sure, but it's a trap. To see through it, we must first understand how this system works, where it came from, and why it thrives. Control isn't new. It's as old as human civilization. Go back in time to ancient empires and kingdoms. Religion and monarchies were the first tools of mass control. They created a framework where power was centralized at the top, with the promise of divine reward or the threat of eternal damnation keeping the masses compliant. Then came the Industrial Revolution. With it, governments and elite classes replaced the old ways of control with new ones. Wage labor, education systems, and factory work weren't just about progress. They helped create a population finely tuned to follow instructions. Obey the rules, stay in line, pay your taxes. Fast forward to today, the tools of control are more sophisticated but subtler. Governments, corporations, and institutions have perfected these methods. These forces don't just control what we do, they shape how we think. Let's talk about why you're so easy to control. Don't take it personally. It's basic human nature. We're social creatures. From an evolutionary perspective, our survival depended on fitting into a group. This need to belong means we instinctively conform to social norms and expectations. But here's where it gets insidious. Those who design the frameworks of society, both historically and today, understand this psychological vulnerability and exploit it. They know that with the right tools, you can be guided like sheep, believing you're choosing the path yourself. Persuasion, conformity, fear, these are the keys to human thinking, and when you combine these psychological principles with the overwhelming influence of modern technology, you've got the perfect recipe for control. No one's watching you more closely than your phone. Think I'm exaggerating? Let's talk about how social media, tech companies, and algorithms silently influence every choice you make. When you scroll through your feed on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, it feels random, like you're just consuming content by chance. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Algorithms decide what you see. Their purpose isn't to entertain you, it's to keep you engaged, to nudge your beliefs in subtle yet powerful ways. And then there's the data. Big tech knows more about you than your own family does. What you like, what you hate, what you fear. It's all recorded, sold, and leveraged to manipulate your behavior. Ever wondered why you see such perfectly tailored ads? Or why certain political narratives dominate your feed? It's all calculated. Big tech isn't a service. It's a system of unprecedented control. The worst part? We participate willingly. In exchange for convenience, we've abandoned privacy and critical thought, letting these companies take in-depth control over our lives. What about the institutions we trust the most? Governments, policymakers, and the media? Surely they're looking out for our best interests, right? Wrong. Let's start with the media. Did you know that only a handful of companies own the majority of the world's media outlets? They control what stories are told, and just as crucially, which ones are not. News doesn't educate, it conditions. It teaches us who to trust, who to fear, and what to think. It feeds us narratives meant to perpetuate the status quo. And governments? Their tool of choice is fear. Terrorists are coming for you. Immigrants will take your jobs. Climate change will destroy civilization. Even when the threats are real, fear is exaggerated and weaponized to manipulate public opinion. You're easier to control when you're scared, easier to pacify when you're focused on survival. But here's the kicker: the media and government aren't separate entities, they're deeply intertwined. Together, they create a perfect storm of propaganda. If you think you were born free, think again. From the moment you were old enough to learn, the system began molding you. School doesn't exist to teach you how to think critically. It's designed to produce obedient workers. The repetitive structure of the school day, the need to ask permission for basic things, the rigid grading system, it's all a way to train you to follow the rules. Then there are social norms and cultural values. These are the unwritten rules that control us all without us even noticing. Who decides what's right or wrong? Who dictates what's normal or acceptable? Entertainment plays a major role here. The movies you watch, the magazines you read, the influencers you follow, they all send signals about what you should aspire to. By the time you're grown, you've become a product of countless layers of conditioning. But here's the good news: you can free yourself. The first step is awareness. The system only works when you're blind to its existence. Once you start to question the codes of society, you begin to reclaim your autonomy. Ask yourself, who created this rule? Who benefits if I follow it? Is this belief or product or goal truly mine, or was it prescribed to me? Recognizing manipulation becomes easier when you start peeling back the layers. Equally important is understanding your mind. The emotional triggers that control you, fear, greed, guilt, are the same ones the system exploits. When you know your weaknesses, you become harder to control. For example, think of the last time you bought something online on impulse. Was it really your choice? Or did a targeted ad, a discount clock, or a sense of FOMO, fear of missing out, nudge you toward that decision? Once you learn to pause, reflect, and see through these tactics, you can say no more often. Now let's get practical. How can we actually regain control? Control your media diet. Be selective about what you consume, whether it's the news or social media. Unfollow accounts that make you feel angry, scared, or inadequate. Search for alternative sources of information outside the mainstream narrative. Digital detox. Limit your dependence on technology where you can. Consider turning off app notifications or practicing screen-free hours during your day. Practice critical thinking. Question everything. Where is this information coming from? Who benefits if I believe it? If it makes you emotional, angry, afraid, pause before reacting. Seek community. Finding like-minded truth seekers is crucial. When you connect with others who question the system, you feel less alone, and together, you can amplify change. Take back your attention. Remember that attention is power. Every moment you spend scrolling through a feed or watching another commercial is another moment of power handed over. Reclaim it. What we've discussed today is just the beginning. Once you start pulling the threads of society's secret codes, you'll realize that the illusion of control isn't just everywhere, it's everything. But true freedom doesn't come from breaking away from society entirely. It comes from seeing society as it really is and choosing how to engage with it on your terms. The journey to freedom is not about rebellion for its own sake. It's about awareness, intention, and empowerment. When you truly see the world for what it is, you're no longer a puppet. You become the writer of your own story. So the question now is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you allow the system to keep you caged, or do you choose to see beyond it? The truth is out there, but remember, once you've seen it, there's no going back.